Good morning and welcome, dear friends, both those present here at the Nobel Peace Center and those of you that are joining us digitally. A very warm welcome to the Nobel Peace Center. Today, we gather here to celebrate this year's Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Maria Corina Machado. She is awarded the prize for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and for a struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. This year's Peace Prize shines a light on how the work of for democracy is key for lasting peace. And through today's program, we will learn more about the new Peace Prize laureate, Machado, and the context surrounding this prize. But before we get that far, we have an exciting announcement. The diploma that will be given to the new laureate on December 10th will be unveiled here today. Besides finding a worthy Nobel Peace Prize laureate, it is also the assignment of the committee to select a suitable artist who will create the diploma that follows the prize. And it is my great pleasure to welcome on stage the chair of the Nobel Committee, Jørgen Watne Frydnes. So, Jørgen, you have been very busy lately.
I have.
And thank you so much for being here with us. I know that media all around the world have been very busy or been very eager to talk with you about the prize. So it's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And as I said, beside finding the laureate, the committee also searched for a suitable artist to create the diploma. So can you please tell us a little bit about the history of art and the process selecting this year's artist?
So each year, the laureate receives, of course, the golden medal, and with that, the diploma. And for many, many years, the diploma was the same. It was very beautiful, but it was still the same historical print. And then from 1991 onwards, the committee decided we wanted to use contemporary artists, Norwegian contemporary artists. And one part of the work of the committee is, as Kjersti said, not only a selection of the actual prize winner, but the art and the artist, because we are not choosing the art itself, it is the artist. So what we do is the same way we do our own deliberations. We are handed out with different viewpoints, different candidates, so to say, and then we have a discussion within the committee, as we do on all other cases, and we choose. And it is really an honor to do this, because working with art and having art as part of this basis is really reinforcing the message of the Peace Prize.
Oh, and now we're so this is also a secret process.
It is.
So what we're going to do now is you are going to tell the audience here who is the artist of this year's diploma.
So we are lucky enough to have not only one of but in my opinion, the most important contemporary artist in Norway today. A former student of Ordnerdrum, working with many of other Håkon Bleken, for instance. But the most important is Sverre Bjertnæs himself. Please welcome to stage.
Congratulations. Okay. Please come on. Yeah. So, Sverre Bjertnæs.
Yes.
How was it? You were given this assignment to create a diploma, and you did not know who the laureate was. So how did you approach this, and how did you feel about this assignment?
Well, first of all, it's of course a great honor to be picked out to be the artist to make an artwork for such an important prize. When I got the assignment, I didn't know who was going to be the winner, of course, and I didn't know if it was going to be one winner or multiple winners. So I made a few suggestions, a few paintings that would be suitable, and I basically started to work with this sort of basic idea that I wanted to do a small painting that sort of represented something that was common for all people working for peace, and that is to sort of make the world a better place for the coming generations. So this was sort of my starting point for making these paintings.
So Jørgen, do you think we should unveil the painting, and then we can talk a little bit more about the painting itself later?
Let's do it.
If time comes for us to do that. Okay. May I ask for the biggest possible silence? Da, da, da. You can start. Yeah. Wonderful. Sverre, would you like to tell us a little bit more about this picture and
Well, as
motifs?
as I said, it was sort of I was working with this sort of basic ideas that I would want to make a picture that were focusing on the sort of very common goal for a peace prize, which would be to sort of improve the world for the generations to come. So I made a picture of a parent and a child under a star, and it has sort of two ways to be viewed. It could be viewed in peacetime as a very calming picture, a parent and a child reclining under a star, or it could be also a picture of in a different context. For example, today of a motif that refers to refugees, which would be kind of quite connected to this year's Peace Prize.
And I was thinking also of unity.
Unity is.
Which I would kind of, perhaps I'm looking with the eyes of this year's prize, because she has been working so much for creating unity among the opposition. So that was kind of also perhaps one could think of.
Absolutely, and
it's beautiful, Sverre. Thank you so much.
It's a good interpretation.
In the Nobel Institute, we have the committee room with the portraits of all the laureates. And next to it, we have the room where we have all the diplomas hanging on the walls. And this is really beautiful. It's really magnificent. And I think it's going to be perfect in the long, long, proud history of not only the Nobel Peace Prize, but also the artists. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you also for another good selection, selecting the artist and the diploma. Congratulations with that. And now to one of my favorite moments during the month of October, and that is to listen to you, Jørgen, giving the lecture about the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and giving us a little bit more over the background. So the floor is yours. Without further ado, please.
Thank you. I want to start, and I thought about this morning, also on the basis of particularly quite a lot of Norwegian journalists, and the necessity to talk about a situation which is quite distant from our own situation here in Norway. How would you feel living in a country where the law no longer protects you, but turns against you, where judges are no longer independent, but obedient extensions of power, where a trial is not about what you have done, but what you have said or refused to say? How would you feel in a country where poverty clings to more and more homes, where young people see their future slipping away, and where the dream for many is to escape? All this happening at the same time as the ruling elite enrich themselves. How would you feel in a country where the authorities grow more authoritarian every year, where critical voices are branded as enemies, and where those with the courage to speak out risk prison, exile, or torture? This is the reality in Venezuela today. The country has evolved from a relatively democratic and prosperous country to a brutal authoritarian state, suffering a profound humanitarian and economic crisis. Most Venezuelans now live in deep poverty. The violent machinery of the state is directed against its own citizens. Nearly 8 million people have fled the country. That equals the number of people who fled Syria, or in recent times have fled Ukraine. The opposition has been systematically suppressed through election rigging, legal persecution, and imprisonment. And of course, the authoritarian regime makes political work extremely difficult and dangerous. Last year, Venezuela's democratic opposition set out to choose jointly someone who could challenge Nicolas Maduro, the country's autocratic president, in an election that was sure to be violent and unfair. Ms. Maria Corina Machado has been a key unifying figure in a political opposition that once was deeply divided. She got the support from the entire political landscape, from left to right, and became the opposition's presidential candidate. However, the regime blocked her candidacy. She and the opposition then chose to back a representative from a different political party, Edmundo González Urrutia, in the election. Hundreds of thousands of volunteers mobilized across political divides. They were trained as election observers to ensure a transparent and fair vote. Despite the risk of harassment, arrest, and torture, citizens across the country stood guard at the polling stations. They ensured that the results were recorded before the regime could destroy the ballots and falsify the outcome. Even though activists were being picked off the street or simply shot and killed, they were able to hold a primary, run a presidential campaign, and secure the vote in the election. The efforts of a united opposition, both before and during the election, were innovative and brave, peaceful and democratic. The opposition received international support when its leaders publicized the verified counts collected from local districts, showing clearly that the opposition had won by a clear margin. But the regime refused to accept the result and clung to power. To understand the success of the election of the opposition, it is key to understand how and why the opposition came together. They found common ground in the demand for free elections and representative government. And this is precisely what lies at the heart of democracy. our shared willingness to defend the principle of popular rule, even when we profoundly disagree. They understood that disagreement is not a weakness, but a sign of vitality. Yet they also realized that there are moments when unity becomes a moral duty and a necessary strategy. When democracy itself is under attack, when authoritarian forces seek to replace dialogue with fear and law with power, those who cherish freedom must stand together. Across political divides and ideological lines, the opposition recognized that before anything else comes the foundation, the right of the people to choose, to speak, and to dissent. As Machado had said herself, it was a choice of ballots over bullets. In such moments, defending democracy is not about erasing our differences, but about protecting the space in which these differences can exist. That is the strength of a democratic conviction, the ability to exist many, yet act as one when freedom is really at stake. Democracy is a precondition for lasting peace. Yet we live in a time where democracy is in retreat, where authoritarian regimes grow bolder, manipulate the law, silence the media, imprison their critics, and push societies towards militarization. In 2024, more elections were held around the world than ever before, but fewer and fewer were truly free and fair. Throughout its history, the Norwegian Nobel Committee has honored brave women and men who have stood up against repression, who have carried the hope of freedom in prison cells, in the streets, in public squares, and who have shown through their actions that peaceful resistance really can change the world. In the past year, Ms. Machado has been forced to live in hiding. Despite serious threats against her life, she's remained in Venezuela, a choice that has inspired millions. When authoritarians seize power, it is crucial to recognize courageous defenders of freedom who rise and resist. Democracy depends on people who refuse to stay silent, who dare to step forward despite grave risk, and who remind us that freedom must never be taken for granted, but must always be defended, with words, with courage, and with determination. The democratic opposition in Venezuela, led by Ms. Machado, has shown that the tools of democracy are also the tools of peace. The opposition came together, put their differences to the side, showed unity, and won the election. Machado embodies the hope of a different future, one where the fundamental rights of citizens of Venezuela are protected and their voices are heard. A future of democracy and a future in peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jørgen. We have time for a few questions from the audience. So if anyone would like to ask Jørgen a question, please, it's possible. No questions? No comments? Just congratulations.
Thank you. And first and foremost, congratulations to the Venezuelan people and the mass movement that were able to stand behind that election last year. I think actually we have a question from no other than the deputy chair of the Nobel Committee, Asle Toje.
Mr. Chairman, I thought maybe you could explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the audience how we arrived at this picture as opposed to all other pictures or paintings to illustrate this year's Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, actually, we talked a bit about it earlier. I would send the question back to you because I talked a bit about it. We had the artist decided, and then of course looking at how this is suitable. But it was selected before we actually knew who would receive the prize. So of course it symbolizes something which could go for many of the prizes in the which we have been discussing, but it really shows, and to echo the words of Sverre himself, how the civilians, how the people, how the families, they are at the core of this mass movement of democratic change from dictatorship to democracy, and I think the art really shows that unity as well.
Nina?
Hi, I'm Nina Gregor, director at the Peace Research Institute Oslo, and I will speak soon. But okay, sorry. Hi, I'm Nina Gregor from the Peace Research Institute. I would like to know if you could share some of the feedback or reactions that the committee has got after the announcement yesterday. We are very curious to hear about that. You can be as open as you like. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I must say that I kind of live in a bubble because there's been, since the announcement, it's been media interviews all yesterday until very late. We ended up, before midnight with CNN, and then this morning on NRK. So it's been quite hectic. What I can say is that we've seen how both political leaders around the world, particularly in Latin America, have chosen to support the democracy movement in Venezuela. We see how Europeans, but we first and foremost have feedback from a lot of Venezuelans who say that this is an encouragement not only to her, to that political party, but to the democratic forces at large, that the world cares. We see you. There is a movement, there is an election that was conducted last year that really inspired. And then I'm going to kind of switch, because in addition to that, I have, of course, a normal job as well. And I received so many feedbacks from other people, democracy movements around the world, which see the same thing. We're trying to figure out how can we, as a movement, how can we as activists or politicians around the world stand up to dictatorship and authoritarian rule. And Machado and the movement she represents in Venezuela have shown the world and shown many other countries how it is possible to do it. Of course, it will never be a copy-paste, but her initiative, that energy, and those solutions could also bring about change in other countries around the world.
I was going to ask the same question because we had a full crowd here outside in the hall there and outside yesterday before the announcement. And people were really, really excited to learn who would be the next Peace Prize laureate. And silence totally when you were reading your announcement text. And then the excitement that were in the crowd afterwards. And I think people really very quickly grasped the importance of this prize. That's my reading of the room that we had here at least. And then when I came up on stage and also noted that this was the 20th female Peace Prize laureate, it was also a big shout out for that fact. So I think you really managed to point at something that is very important for many of us and for the world going forward. So for people, as we see it here at the Nobel Peace Center, it's going to be a prize when pointing at the importance of ordinary people coming together to fight for values of freedom of speech and for democracy. So, and that is a hope that we can give each other in these days, that we all have a role to play, and that we can come together and work for this better world for democracies. And we need role models, and Maria Corina Machado is a role model, and she's a very strong beacon of hope, I think. So thank you for doing that. I think that is what the world needs in our work.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, thank you. You can. We had hoped to have the Peace Prize laureate on video with us today, but we were absolutely unable to get hold of her. So let us instead have a look at how she reacted when the director of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, Christian Berg Harpviken, called her. He managed, after several attempts, to get hold of her early in the morning, almost night, in Venezuela. And this is what it looked like when he woke her up. And they had a chat only moments before the announcement.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes?
Yes.
Hello?
Am I talking to Maria Corina Machado?
Yes, this is Maria Corina.
Yes, Maria Corina. My name is Christian Berg Harpviken. I am the secretary of the Norwegian Nobel Committee in Oslo. And I'm calling to inform you that in a few minutes it shall be announced here at the Nobel Institute that you will be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025.
Oh my God.
So
Oh
the
my
warmest congratulations to you, Maria.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, I have no words. I thank you so much, but I hope you understand this is a movement. This is a achievement of a whole society. I am just one person. I certainly do not deserve this. Oh my God.
I think both the movement and you deserve it. So I'm sure this comes as a surprise, and I'm sorry to have to wake you up in the middle of the night to convey this. We don't have much time. We actually are making the announcement just in a few minutes. But I want to quote just shortly from the text that will be announced shortly, where it is said that you are receiving the prize for, and here I quote directly from the announcement, for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy.
I'm honored, humbled. I am very grateful on behalf of the Venezuelan people. We're not there yet. We're working very hard to achieve it, but I'm sure that we will prevail, and this is certainly a biggest recognition to our people that certainly deserve it. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'm very happy to hear your reaction. I do have to ask you, Maria, not to reveal this in the next 5 minutes until until the official announcement is made here in Oslo, which is at 11 o'clock a.m. local time, 5 o'clock your time. After that, of course, you are more than welcome to tell anyone you would like. And
Well,
by experience, we know
worry.
that the news will be out.
I think it'll take me a lot longer to believe what I've just heard. Wow. Well, thank you very much. It's an honor, and I know it's a recognition to our people, to the Venezuelan people. Thank you so much.
It certainly is, but it's also a recognition of yourself and what you have done. I look very much forward to speaking with you soon again.
Me too. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I am wordless, speechless, but thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace Prize laureate from her reaction. It's a moment that changed everyone's life forever. When you get the Peace Prize, everyone say that before I had to shout, now people will listen to what I have to say, and they get invited to all stages all over the world. So the Peace Prize is, and we have learned that also, I think, this year before the announcement, how prestigious and how important this prize is. It's it's a high recognition, and all the attention this year has told us with all clarity how prestigious it is. So Maria will be a hero. She is already a hero for many people, but she will be a hero for many, many people all around the world from yesterday on and the years to come. At the Nobel Peace Center, we will do what we can do to help shine a light on her cause and her work. We are in the making of school material that teachers can get online and download, so that they already on Monday can use that with students here in Norway and abroad to teach students about the new Peace Prize laureate and the cause. And Jørgen, you are busy because you're going to talk with some of the people to teach these students. So that will be part of the package, actually, an interview with you. So you can just leave if you like to go through the videos, and then also I have the big pleasure to invite Ingvild on stage, and you will going to have some experts explaining us about the prize.
Thank you, Kjersti.
Ingvild is the head of communication at the Nobel Peace Center, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kjersti. So this will be the first of a series of events here at the Nobel Peace Center, celebrating and discussing this year's Nobel Peace Prize. And I'm so happy to have a wonderful panel of experts that were put together yesterday on very short notice. Thank you so much for being here. So Nina Greger from PRIO, she's the new director at the Peace Research Institute Oslo. Welcome to her. We also have Frank Konde Tangberg. He is political advisor in Amnesty International Norway. Amnesty is also a Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Welcome to you. And last, Sonia Zapata, the chair of the Norwegian Venezuelan Justice Alliance. Please make it to the stage and give them a warm welcome. Nina, Frank, Sonia. Vi sitter i midten, Frank. So I want to start with you, Sonia, as a Venezuelan living in Norway, how was yesterday for you? How did you react when you got the news about the new Nobel Peace Prize laureate?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to again tell everyone this was on such short notice, so, and we're still waking up to the fact that this happened. So we haven't had much time to prepare, and because of the time difference, I was awake till 3 in the morning talking to everyone in Venezuela, messages. It is a lot of excitement. So I have to start by thanking the Nobel Committee. I was very, very touched and moved, and I'm sure I'm talking for all the Venezuelans that are listening, with your words, because these are the words of Venezuelans for so many years. And these are the struggles that we have tried to convey for so many years to the international community, and we always felt that nobody was listening. So for us to hear you say that, and in this context of getting this prize, it just gives us such a boost of hope that we can actually achieve this. So I'm very thankful for this much appreciated and wonderful prize on behalf of Maria Corina and all the Venezuelans. And of course, also I'm very thankful to you for inviting us, or inviting me to have the Venezuelan angle in this gathering today. As I said, the reactions have been a lot of joy and a lot of gratitude, and that's why I think it's a big honor to be here and a big responsibility to try to convey to you the joy and the gratitude of the Venezuelan people today after we heard about this prize. We feel a very profound sense of pride and hope, and to see that our leader, our opposition leader, has achieved and obtained such an important recognition and such an important award is just not a personal triumph of this very brave Venezuelan woman that has dedicated her life to defending democracy and trying to restore democracy in our country, but also to every Venezuelan. And this is how we feel it, and this is how she has said it from the beginning, as you just heard. This is the victory of all the Venezuelan people that have been trying to convey that message that we deserve to be free, we deserve justice, we deserve respect for human rights. So this is an award to all the courageous people in Venezuela that are still fighting for those universal values of justice, respect for human rights, dignity, and the right to live in peace.
You say you stayed up half the night speaking to people in Venezuela. Can you tell us about some of the reactions you've heard?
It is pure joy, and a lot of many people are very shocked. They really didn't expect that this would happen. That we would. I mean, we are. I'm still surprised, to be honest. We're still. We can't believe it. And yeah, I mean, outside, more than 8 million Venezuelans have had to leave the country. So our country is really spread all over the world right now. You won't meet a Venezuelan that doesn't have half of their family living somewhere else, all continents, obviously much more in Latin America because it's the closest geographically, but we're really split. And that's one of the bad things that we have to deal with. But I mean, in Venezuela, unfortunately, people are very happy, but they have to be very careful so they are not able to express this happiness publicly. So there is a lot of things going on through social media and through WhatsApp because they cannot go to the streets and actually express themselves. But all the other 8+ million that are abroad in other countries, including the community of Norwegians, of Venezuelans in Norway, are of course very, very happy, and everybody is over the moon with this news. Yes.
And I must say, you even came down spontaneously to the Nobel Peace Center yesterday.
We wanted to do something, and we did,
with flags.
So, and it was funny because when you called, I thought, okay, maybe we needed a permit to just take a picture there. And she says, "How do you know that I was going to call you?" And I said, "Well, I guess you're talking about permit because I think my people are there, but we didn't ask for a permit." Because, they said, no, I'm not calling you about that. So that was very funny. I was calling you to invite me here, so that was very funny.
We were very glad you chose to come to us to celebrate yesterday.
Of course, it's an honor.
So over to you, Nina Greger. Every year the Director of PRIO makes a list of what you think is the most worthy candidates for the Nobel Peace Prize. And Maria Corina Machado was not on that list this year. So I suppose you were surprised yesterday as well.
I think we were among the ones who were quite surprised about it. But we also think that she's a really worthy winner for her work for democracy, for free and fair elections, and, you know, relentlessly working on that for many, many years. So absolutely yes. And she also, you know, has been honored by others. You know, the European Parliament gave her the Sakharov Prize last year. She also received the Václav Havel Prize last year for her work with human rights and democracy. So, and also 5 of the former laureates of the Nobel Peace Prize got the Sakharov Prize, so maybe we should have spotted that. But now we have spotted her, so we think she's absolutely a worthy candidate. Yes.
How would you place this prize in the Nobel history and in relation with Alfred Nobel's testament? You know, there are 3 criteria in the testament for being awarded Nobel Peace Prize. It's about fraternity between nations, disarmament, and promotion of peace, what Alfred Nobel used to call peace congresses in his time. So how would you place this prize and name it?
Yeah, I think that giving her the Peace Prize, you know, follows a line down the history where the prize has been given to opponents or proponents of peace and dissidents and those who actually work to promote human rights and democracy. We have many on that list of laureates, so I think that falls very well within that tradition. And I also think that it's good that we also have now a spot on Latin America this year, which has not had laureates on the list for a long time, as far as I can see. So I think it's a good tradition. Of course, there are also other ways in which one could say that this is a prize about democracy, but it's also about a prize about cooperation and maybe also international cooperation. I mean, if you look at the way in which these authoritarian regimes are, you know, relating to the rest of the world, that is not something that we equal with cooperation and the way in which Alfred Nobel emphasized that.
So you put the spotlight here on Latin America, and that's over to you, Frank Conde Tangberg from Amnesty. You've been following this area for quite a while, and the situation in Venezuela. And in your opinion, what will a Nobel Peace Prize to the opposition movement mean for the development in Venezuela?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate Maria Corina Machado on the prize. I think she embodies all of those who have been persecuted in Venezuela over the last many years, all of those who have taken to the streets and organized, demanding and calling for change and being willing to sacrifice in order to achieve that. I think this hopefully will boost the international visibility of the situation in Venezuela. I don't think we recognize just how bad the situation has gotten in the country. We mentioned the 8 million people who have left the country, but this is the only country in the Americas with an open investigation in the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. That means that the types of human rights violations that we're seeing in the country are widespread and systematic. And it's a very serious situation. I think in the decade before 2023, some 15,000 people had been arbitrarily arrested. Just in 2024, in relation to the presidential elections, more than 2,400 people were arbitrarily arrested. Still some 800 of those remain arrested. So it's a very serious situation, and Maria Corina has dared to stay behind, dared to challenge an authoritarian regime that applies everything that is in the dictator's handbook, all the tools, all the strategies. And it's a great risk because she is under threat, the members of her party and alliances are under threat, human rights defenders, journalists, union activists, They're all under threat. So they'll apply, when there are big protests, they'll strike them down with widespread violence, which is unnecessary and illegal. And when there aren't mass protests, they'll go targeting those who are perceived as opposition. So they had this name for it. It's called Operación Tuntun, Operation Knock Knock, because they'll come to your door. And they'll spread the message on the counterintelligence Instagram with scary music from horror movies, just to instill fear in the Venezuelans. So they're picking them up, putting them in jail, and Maria Corina, she risks long prison sentences. She risks being arbitrarily arrested and forcibly disappeared. So that's the one area. And then the second, I think, is also important, is that it also hopefully boosts support for international accountability mechanisms, such as the International Criminal Court.
We will come back to the international scope of the prize later, but I want to elaborate a little bit more on the situation for Maria Corina. Do you think that the Nobel Peace Prize will help to protect her in the situation she is now, or are you fearing the opposite?
I don't know. I hope it works as a shield, because I hope that the increased visibility, hopefully increased support from the international community, will not only provide a better or more secure situation for her, but also her party members and the Venezuelan people who are also taking to the streets, or also organizing, or also calling for change. So I hope, but I fear that that depends on the situation at any given point. I fear that the government will, whenever it feels necessary, track her down and arrest her like they do so many others, because they're still doing it. So we don't know.
What do you think about that, Sonja? Your organization is also a human rights organization, if I understand it correctly.
Yes. So, yeah, we have been in contact and have the support of Amnesty Norway through Frank, who understands the situation on the ground very well. And we have been discussing all these issues. It is, to your point, I mean, I agree with his reply. I mean, it is very difficult for us to predict what's going to happen. And I totally see what you see, and I hope that that's the case, that this increases visibility and the cost of, if they would care for the cost, which that's where the question lies. I mean, we are facing a brutal, tyrannical regime that really is showing that they don't care so much about the political cost or international reputation, no cost of actually taking down a person like her. But we hope that is the other way, that they will actually be more careful to actually attack her because of the visibility that she now got internationally.
And as you pointed out, Nina Greger, there is a long history of giving the Nobel Peace Prize to dissidents and to people who are prosecuted by their regimes. What do we know about how the prize may protect people at risk?
Well, the prize is, as you all know, one of 5 very exclusive and prestigious prizes, and maybe this one is the most prestigious prize, the Nobel Peace Prize. And that in itself draws attention to the important work for peace and the importance of democratic basic rights, human rights, and non-violent settlement of disputes, etc., etc. So it really highlights those very important values in international relations. And I think also, at the time where conflict, the level of conflict is all-time high, with only last year having some 61 conflicts across 36 countries, that really tells something about how many conflicts there are, and also we know how subject to violence and atrocities civilians are in conflicts and crises, and also in authoritarian regimes. So I think it's really important that we have this prize that draw attention to the important work that is being done by individuals, by grassroots organizations and associations to work for peace, and in that sense also protect people, because the eyes are actually on authoritarian regimes and also non-democratic regimes. So we had both election observers on our list of worthy candidates. We also had journalists on our list of worthy candidates for the Peace Prize, as well as the ICC and the OSSE. So it's I think it gives a very good occasion to really set focus on the important things, such as peace.
And if I can add something from our point of view, from the Nobel Peace Center, we're in contact with the laureates, and we talk to them, and many of them will say that the prize has been a protection. People like Maria Ressa, for example, she was facing 7 different charges from the authorities in the Philippines when she received the prize, and now there's only 1 or 2 left, and she's allowed to travel again, and that all happened after she got the Peace Prize. So I think we are allowed to hope that this is a positive thing also for Maria Karina.
I just wanted to mention that the fear is real, you know, in the sense that again, we are dealing with a very cynical regime, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of context of how bad the situation is. Some days ago, they started this Christmas celebration, and they were firing fireworks from the largest torture center in Latin America, which is in Caracas. It's called Helicoide, and this is happening today. In Latin America, in Venezuela, there is a huge torture center, the biggest in Latin America, called Helicoide. You can Google it. The cynicism is such that they were shooting fireworks to celebrate the beginning of Christmas from that torture center. That gives you some idea of the level of cruelty. So yes, we really hope that this increases the visibility and acts as a protective shield. But she is aware of the risk, and she is such a courageous woman that she is taking all this risk, and has even given instructions to her team that if anything would happen, God forbid, they have to go on and they have to continue the fight. We hope, and we are praying to God that that will not be the case.
You wanted to comment on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, you know, receiving the Nobel Peace Prize carries a lot of responsibility with it for, you know, furthering and promoting and continuing the work. It also means that you have the spotlight on you as a person and the people you work with. So I totally agree that carries also a lot of fear and danger with it. So so I really hope, like you do, that this will, you know, not lead to anything dangerous for the laureate.
Frank, you were talking also about the lack of international attention on the situation in Venezuela. Do you think that might change now?
I hope so. I certainly do. So I think it was interesting that in the reasoning from the committee, they argued that, you know, they emphasized her work as, you know, a champion of democratic rights. But they also spoke about how this, the development in Venezuela mirrored an international development, which Amnesty has been talking about for years. We call it like the authoritarian turn, that more and more governments and states are becoming increasingly authoritarian and using tools of authoritarianism. That's something we've seen across the Americas. We've seen it, we've seen the United States right now. We've seen El Salvador, Nicaragua, so across the political spectrum. And we also see a lack of support and actually attacks on international accountability mechanisms like the International Criminal Court, which will be central to holding those responsible for human rights abuses in Venezuela accountable. So I hope we have big discussions. I hope there's visibility for the situation in Venezuela, because I think we underestimate just how dramatic it is. I think the Norwegian government, well, it was involved in negotiations between part of the opposition and the government for 5-6 years at least formally. And so in the Norwegian context, the government has been showing interest, it has engaged, but throughout that period of negotiations, it has also been very silent about the human rights abuses. And Amnesty recognizes that, you know, it's perhaps difficult to be both engaged in conversations where you're trying to broker peace or a peaceful solution. But I think if human rights are to be a cornerstone of Norwegian foreign policy, it also needs to address human rights abuses as serious as this. Because even as there was agreed a pathway towards elections, presidential elections in 2024, we also saw the regime stepping up the repression ahead of the elections. And I think that merited a stronger response from the Norwegian government and others. I think now that there perhaps aren't any negotiations, we see a stronger response from the Norwegian government, and we welcome that. So hopefully more will follow.
As we don't have a representative of the Norwegian government here, I think we should come back to that issue maybe at a later stage. As I said, we will have a lot of discussions about this year's Nobel Peace Prize here at the Peace Center in the coming months. But I would also like you to talk a little bit about the signal that this prize might give when it comes to democracy and the situation for democracy in the world right now. How do you see this prize as a prize to democracy? Frank first, and then Nina.
I think we focus more on the human rights aspect of it, that people need to be allowed to organize, that people need to be allowed to have a voice, to speak their mind, to take to the streets, to challenge governments, and to provide visibility to human rights abuses, to act in solidarity with each other. And I think in that sense, she has been at the forefront. She's been tremendously courageous. She obviously has been more visible than a lot of others, but the type of fear that she probably lives with, millions of Venezuelans are also living with. Amnesty International has an office in Caracas, so our colleagues are also subject to the type of I'm going to be careful with my words because I don't want to put my colleagues in danger, but they also live in that context. They have a personal life in that context. So both their professional and personal lives are experiencing tremendous pressure. So, and that is the case across many countries. Amnesty has had to close down office after office because the space for civil society is shrinking. So from Hong Kong to India, we're seeing this so across the political spectrum. And that's why we need to stand up for those values. And Maria Corina Machado has done this in the Venezuelan context very well.
Nina, how do you see the prize in a bigger context?
Yeah, I'm the director of a Peace Research Institute, and we conduct research on peace and the conditions for peace. And what we see from our research is that the democracy is sort of the best form of governance when it comes to securing peace. One thing is, of course, having fair and open elections and free elections, being able to be a candidate, being able to campaign, being able to give your vote without being prosecuted. So that is really important. It's important also for the peaceful transition of power from one government to another, which is, of course, not something that we should take for granted. And it also means that whenever there is conflict, that conflict or disagreement is handled in a peaceful way rather than through the use of violence. So this is actually the best form of government when it comes to achieving peace over time. And it's also the best for the people, of course. It's the most protected form of government. So we think, getting attention to democracy at a time when democracy is under pressure, not only in, how would I put it, the usual suspects or certain parts of the world, but actually across the world, including in Western democracies. This is very timely to focus on that. So I'm all for that.
So you see this as a prize, as a signal to other countries as well, not just...
Yeah. This is Of course, it's a signal to the entire world. I would say about the importance of having democracy to achieve long-term peace and peaceful relations within a country as well as among countries.
I completely agree with that, and I don't think that we see. I can see already the potential that this has in boosting these values in Latin America again, and like the chair of the committee explained. This is a model that other countries will want to replicate, because we're talking about a movement. It's beyond any political parties and positions. It's something that transcends politics, and people more than ever need a model to actually be able to regain those values and those spaces that are being lost. And in Latin America, just to mention anecdotically, yesterday when we were outside, people saw and they heard us speak in Spanish, and some Latin Americans were stopping. We are so excited for you. This is such a good message for our region, and we are so thrilled that this can happen, that one of our countries can actually receive such a recognition. We are all struggling. It's no secret that many Latin American countries are struggling when it comes to democracy and human rights. So it sends a very powerful message to a whole region.
And also, Nina, that those strong feelings and all the reactions that we've seen, and not to speak of all that has been written and said in the weeks before the announcement this year. What does that say about the status of the Nobel Peace Prize still in 2025?
The status of the prize?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have never in my life spoken to so many journalists from all over the world. So the interest is all-time high. Of course, there's a certain candidate and his self-promotion that also has contributed to that. But that could also be a good thing, because everybody is interested in the prize. And I think it's important not to take the prize and what it carries for granted. We have to think about, the next generations who grew up in a different world than I did, and you did. So I think just having the discussions around the prize, about the winners, is a good thing. And because if we all agreed, it would be easily become not boring, but it wouldn't get all that attention, and it needs attention, I think.
And discussions are good. We agree on that here at the Nobel Peace Center. We're all about dialogue and debate. Just one last question. I give that to you first, Frank, and then to you, Sonja. What are the chances that Maria Corina will come to Oslo and the City Hall across the square to receive the prize in December?
Yeah, I noticed the questions asked by the Norwegian media around this, and obviously in Norway there's an interest for the Nobel Peace Laureate to come and receive the prize. I don't know what she's going to do, obviously, but I don't think that she's going to come because I suspect that she has had opportunities to leave the country and has chosen to remain. And I think if she were to leave the country and she would be allowed to, which I don't know that she will, would she be allowed to return? The Venezuelan government has withdrawn passports from human rights defenders who have tried to leave the country for various reasons, not all to migrate. So that's one of the tools that they apply to keep people in check. But we also know that a lot of human rights defenders don't want to leave the country because they fear not being allowed to return. So I think that's a consideration also. So whether it benefits the overall cause to leave, she'll know better than us. But I think that has to be taken into account around this conversation about whether she comes or not.
What do you believe, Sonja?
Oh, I am an optimist. I always am an optimist. I'd rather be disappointed than not have hope. So, but I'm also realistic. This situation is very complicated. It is very dangerous right now for her. Not right now. It's been so for over a year now. So it would be very challenging, and there are all these practical implications that Frank has correctly pointed out. So it is very difficult to picture that happening, but it is not completely impossible. And yeah, we're hopeful that we can have the honor of receiving her here. We just have to wait and hope.
So let's conclude then on that hope, and hope for a better future for Venezuela and for oppressed people across the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming here. Sonia Zapata, Frank Konde Tandberg, and Nina Greger. And thanks to all of you for spending this morning with us. And to you online, have a good rest of the day. Goodbye. Tusen takk.